Welcome back to a little bit of cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast. My name is Cody Depius. That is Sam Douglas. It is Friday, March 20th, 2026. It is a blistering 46 degrees outside today. We are coming off of a week where I don't know how you guys did in lacrosse, but I can tell you in the Fox Cities and Green Bay area, we're talking 30-plus inches from this past weekend. It was I've lived in this state for my whole life to this point, but that was the most snow I've seen over a 2-day period. It was pretty ridiculous. How'd you guys hold up over there?
We got dumped on, that's for sure. I actually ended up sending a concert up to Minneapolis over the weekend, so I made the Saturday night, early Sunday morning drive back to lacrosse when travel was not advised.
Yeah,
and there was some sketchy parts going 20 miles an hour on the freeway on the drive back, but we didn't get the massive humiliation like you did. I think we probably got a foot and a half over in lacrosse.
Yeah.
I did see a video of you trying to open your front door though, and got a kick out of that.
Yeah, it was like I kid you not, 30 inches. Like legitimately, the snowbank was up to the bottom of the mailbox on like the side of the road there. And we only got snow. It was probably just a 48-hour period that we got snow, but it was just so hard and so consistent. I went through 2 tanks of gas with my snowblower alone, and I pretty much stuck to my own driveway, which is not a huge driveway by any means. I tried to help out our next door neighbor who's 81 years old, and I didn't want to see him try to go tackle anything. I got a little bit where I know I could at least get him to his garage, and then he could go down to his mailbox, but I couldn't handle any more of that. The shoulders were recovering from the consistent pushing from the weekend, but yeah, it was it's all going to be gone probably by the middle of next week with the weather that we're getting this weekend and into next week. I think we're going to hit 60s tomorrow, so my backyard's going to turn into a little pond, I imagine, which will be great for baseball season on the horizon. But we do have some breaking news that Sam is going to kind of break it to all of us here, because I am not on the informed side of this debate here. But the Milwaukee Bucks, they did have an interview this morning. It's had like a 90-minute interview with the ownership group, or a couple members of the ownership group, and Sam kind of has a lowdown for us.
Yeah, Wes Edens and Jimmy Haslam sat down with Ramona Shelburne of ESPN. Shout out to Ramona. I think, in a whole lot of ESPN jabronis, I've always thought highly of Ramona. But they sat down, and you don't always get a full 90-minute sit down with the ownership group. So I really look forward to reading this entire article. I haven't had a chance to yet. But the big statement that was made is Wes Edens telling ESPN, quote, Giannis is going into the last year of his contract, so one of two things will happen. Either he will be extended or he will be traded. Giannis is not finishing his last year with the Bucks next year without signing anything. This is good from ownership. It's how you should run a team. You shouldn't let a world-class player just play out his last year of his contract. It ends a little bit of the Giannis pampering story in Milwaukee. This is the first time that I've seen ownership come out and say, our role is ownership, your role is player. We haven't really ever done that with Giannis, and I think we need to. Giannis really liked Jason Kidd, didn't want to see Jason Kidd fired. Seeing Jason Kidd fired ended up bringing us a championship. Giannis re-signed. He really liked Michael Carter-Williams, Eric Bledsoe, 2 guys that he still has relationships with. We got rid of them, we got better. Giannis re-signed. So it is good that ownership is starting to assume their role as ownership here. But yeah, that's the first time that we've ever seen Bucks ownership come out and say Giannis very well could be traded if he doesn't sign on the dotted line.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that has seemed to grow more inevitable as time has gone on. I mean, I'm actually kind of surprised up to this point, especially the way that this season has progressed. I think that injury that Giannis had, like at that point, I think that kind of sent us on this fork in the road where it is now increasingly inevitable of his departure. I don't know if this team can continue to stay on this path that they've been on. I know financial side is a little bit questionable at this point, especially when you have Giannis at the forefront, which that's a guy, if you're going to have a number one guy to pay, that's who you want. But especially now when you look at, you have given Giannis the keys here, and he has been one of the best players in the NBA, at times the best player since he, like probably 7-8 years ago. It's been that conversation. But now you're at a point where things are questionable, things have fallen apart around him, and I think his body is starting to fall apart a little bit too. You're starting to see injuries pile up more consistently over the last couple of years. This year is no stranger to that. And now you're on the verge of possibly missing the playoffs in what you have considered a championship window. And the ownership group and general management, I think they've done their part in the offseason to try to build up what had been falling apart around Giannis. But what you've seen is it's been a little bit too much to bear. And now you're at that crossroads where they need to make a decision and feel good about whatever that is. And I wouldn't be surprised if they decide that it is actually best for the Milwaukee Bucks franchise to move on from the chosen one.
I think that's the conversation being had at some point, and that's the kind of shock factor of that interview is the ownership saying, "Hey, you know what? Maybe it is in the best interest of the Bucks. If Giannis wants to stay a Buck, if he wants to be a Dirk and play 20 years with the same franchise, nobody's going to stop him. We want Giannis in Milwaukee as much as possible. But if it just makes sense for the team for long-term Milwaukee Bucks success, to go get a absolute king's ransom for Giannis Antetokounmpo, then it sounds like they're going to start looking into that. That being said, you know me, I'm an optimist that Giannis is going to stay and the Bucks are going to win 5 more rings with Giannis. They have no reason to tank. They don't have their draft picks over the next handful of years. This is the last one they're going to have for I think 4 or 5 years. If they pick up 4 late first round draft picks over the next 4 years, that really doesn't do anything for them. They should be trying to win. If they don't own their first round draft picks, then they should be out trying to win. So another shakeup, another retool, another see who's a free agent, bring them into Milwaukee, see if we run it back. I think that's absolutely on the table. And I would give it 60-40 Giannis signs this extension. Again, everything he's ever said in the media is I want to be a Buck. So we'll see what happens with it. But yeah,
do you think there's a chance that ownership actually decides that it's best to move on? Do you think if Giannis was to not be in Milwaukee, do you think it would be more Giannis or more of the ownership making that decision?
That's the point of the interview. Great point. It sounds like it would be the ownership's decision if Giannis is to leave. And that's what scares me is that it's Jimmy Haslam, Cody. It's Jimmy Haslam. And this guy does not make good sports decisions. He's got a big pocketbook, but once he starts making decisions, teams go south. What just happened with Jim Schwartz in Cleveland? That's a team that Jimmy Haslam is making decisions for. Schwartz, one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL, couldn't even get an interview for the head coach job, and I'm done with it. I'm done with the situation. That's the Jimmy Haslam. I have zero trust in him, and it terrifies me. And quite frankly, it's sad that he's the one making these decisions.
Yeah, how does he even get connected to the Milwaukee Bucks? Is he out in Ohio? Like, is he in Cleveland? Is that where he's based out of? Or like, how does he get involved with those two franchises?
Pocketbook. He bought in.
Okay.
He bought into the Bucks about 3 years ago. And I wasn't a fan of it at the time. I think he is a hands in a soccer team as well. I mean, wealthy guy. NBA teams are worth a lot of money and value's only going up. So he made a business decision, and business decisions aside, I've never seen success from Jimmy Haslam running a sports team.
Yeah, that's not a great outlook, but we're going to know a lot in the next few months, especially playoffs. And I don't even know how much of it's going to depend on what happens for Milwaukee the rest of this season. This is just going to be your conversations behind closed doors. We're going to hear a lot of things in the news, as we always do, and a lot of it is going to mean absolutely nothing. But we'll be here We'll talk about it. Sam's going to tell you the exact same thing every time and what's going to happen. And I'm just going to listen to him because I don't read enough into these things. So we appreciate the insight, Sam. Appreciate a little bit of that news. That's going to be something we'll have to cover as we move forward. We'll stay in the world of basketballs. March Madness is taking place as we speak. The Wisconsin Badgers yesterday, once again, an early exit. First round victim this time, losing to the 12 seed Hyde Point. Yesterday, they had a 10-point lead, I believe, with 5 minutes left to go. At that point, I texted you this game was looking scary. And then right when I sent that text, everything collapsed. And High Point won with a bucket from Charles Johnston, I believe is his name. He is a sharpshooting 3-point defense kind of player. He made his first 2-point field goal yesterday, and it was the game winner with 11 seconds left to go in the game. There's a lot of things going out on Twitter. I've said the things as well, even in our little text thread. How are you feeling right now? As a Badgers fan, someone who said that this team could and maybe even should go to Elite 8/Final Four this season with the guard talent that they had.
Never a should. It was always a could. It was always a could. And I stand by my reasoning behind that because Nick Boyd and John Blackwell, man, they call themselves the best backcourt in the country. I haven't done a deep dive into what the D1 teams are all looking like right now, but they were dogs. They played well together. I think they were the only two to average 19 points per game, two backcourt players to average 19 points per game since the Michigan Fab 5 team. So that's kind of sweet. Greg Gard, I think the time is up. I mean, how many times can we get into a tournament, go out in the first 2 rounds? This is a Wisconsin Badgers. This is a Big Ten. This is a well-known basketball organization. They're going to have more talent coming in the door. Wisconsin loves its basketball. And it kind of comes down to coaching after you run into the same wall over and over again. I didn't love the last play drawn up where it was just a Nick Boyd ISO play. Now he's played really well, but that comes down to coaching. You gotta execute late games, and we've seen for about 8-9 years now, Greg Gard not getting it done. So I think he's run a good program. I was really excited about him when he came in, but I think it's been a good run with Greg Gard. And the time is up.
When you say good run, what exactly do you mean by good run?
I think he's been a quality coach without top end talent. He's kept the Badgers relevant without any sort of lottery picks going on. Whether the recruiting is on him as well or not is a different conversation. But the Badgers have been relevant under Greg Gard. There wasn't a massive fall off after our dynasty of 2014 to 2017. But the tournament success just hasn't been there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was that transition. And I grew up watching this Badgers basketball program as a young skipper in the 2000s into the 2010s, and where they really reached that peak where you should have had a national championship out of one of those seasons. You didn't. But I always remember my dad saying it's going to be a really sad day when Bo Ryan is no longer the coach of Badger basketball. And really that's exactly what this point is, where he was able to take this program, the heights that they reached, the expectations that we have for this program are going to be just that, where you are hoping every year to be playing after that first weekend in March, where you're hoping to be in a Sweet 16 position. Yes, to have fun with that and to know that you have a true chance. And I believe that these teams that we have watched, when you say that they don't have top end talent, don't have lottery picks, they never have and they never will. That's just, you're never going to see that in Madison. But what you can build, and what we did watch, was a team and group of guys that played together for multiple years. When Decker and Kaminsky were there, that's a lot of juniors and seniors that came on the same 2 or 3 years on the campus. and they played together for years. And none of them individually were all uber talented, but all together played and beat one of the best college basketball teams we've ever seen with our own eyes. And then, of course, you see it after where those guys go on and their post-college careers. Some of them are playing professional basketball. I think Decker's actually still playing. Did Kaminsky get a contract again, too? Like, they're solid players, but none of them were licking all-star appearances by any means. None of them were even starting five players in the NBA. And then overseas, that's a different story. But that's where Wisconsin basketball was built. And that's kind of what you were hoping could continue here into the Greg Gard era. And I know how complex the NIL situation and how NCAA as a whole has just been an absolute mess of recent. And I am appreciative of the fact that Wisconsin never did quite take that step where they were almost unwatchable, which we saw with Badger football, the last 2 years, where there were some low lows that were hit in these past 24 months for Badgers football. And now you're hoping that you can start to climb up. I think that they'll take a couple steps forward. We'll see how far that goes. But they took that fall back. Every single one of these seasons, I believe they missed the NCAA tournament once in this stretch that Gard has been the coach, maybe twice.
Once or twice. You sent me the graphic the other day.
Right. So I have the final result of each season here on the phone. I don't even need to pull it up. You're either out in the first round or the second round, essentially, is what it is. But with every single one of those teams, especially the ones that made it to the NCAA tournament, you had a real chance at a Sweet 16. You did have good talent there. You had AJ Storr, John Tonje. Johnny Davis was a lottery pick, technically. Like, he was right there. And he was actually on one of the teams that didn't make the NCAA tournament, I remember. Like, a really weird season, really weird transition period. But you had some guys where you knew that you had the talent to be able to go deep if those guys played really, really, really well. This year, you had both of your guards who were some of the top guards in the country. They played really, 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 really well in that game. Both of them had over 20 points. And till the last couple of seconds, played almost flawlessly. But it's the same problems that you saw where you have a lack of adjustments towards the end of it. And don't get me wrong, Johnson shot out of his mind. That was like an NBA 2K type of shot where it's the guy's just going to keep shooting, and he's going to make his shots. And quite a few players on that team, that was the case that you were looking at, where they were going to hit their threes. But you have to find a way to make defensive adjustments, and knowing that if you get into a shootout, and this happened with BYU last year, you knew that you were not going to be in an advantageous position if you're in a shootout. So how do you try to avoid that? And in both of these games, we didn't see Wisconsin try to avoid it at all. They played exactly into what the opposition wanted them to, and they came out on the losing end of both of these games. And that's where I find this frustrating. And I don't know what Wisconsin does. I don't know what McIntosh decides. I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Gard is back next year, but I would definitely understand if they went in the direction of firing him at this point.
The thing is with these tournaments too, Cody, is like we're a Big Ten team. We have a Big Ten strength of schedule. We're not a 13, 14, 15 seed. When we're losing in these first two rounds, we're losing as a 4, 5, 6 seed.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ever lower than an 8 because of just strength of schedule and being a Big Ten team. So these first second round losses have just been brutal. And yeah, I think the Greg Gard run just you have to call it at some point.
Yeah. There is a point when you reach it, and I don't know if that point is not making the tournament. Like, maybe they're content just making it every year. Like, do you think they're at that point? I think Chris Matt, personally, seeing the way that UW has handled its athletics in the past, ever since McIntosh has took over, has shown me that if you are not the football program, he doesn't care. Like that's the bottom line. Coaching wise, like, and you can look across different sports. Coaching changes should have been made across multiple sports, but McIntosh is not going to fire a coach, have that contract buyout, to take away money from the football program. Like that's the bottom line. Where he can save money to be able to invest it in the football program, that's the decision that he's going to make. And that's going to take precedence over any decisions in any other sport.
Women's hockey puts on a show too. Can't say all UW sports. Yeah. Shout out women's hockey.
Across many of them. Both hockey programs have done quite well. I mean, that's good point there, Sam. Thank you for that. But you don't need to make a change if your team's winning natties. You know, it's
makes life easy for the AD. Y'all keep doing your thing over there.
Yep, exactly. And the tough decisions that an AD has to make is when to fire a coach. And you saw with Paul Chryst, where they had to make that decision. Yes, it was the right decision. And then, of course, that hiring process and going through all that. And I don't know if McIntosh is going to be pushed to that point where it is worth his trouble to go and try to find another head basketball coach. When I think that Greg, I mean, that's the reality of it, because you're going to give yourself an opportunity with Greg Gard as your coach. Yes, he hasn't actually done it, but I think that every year that they've gone in, they have a chance to go as far as they want to go. They just, when the lights are bright, they have not shown up. And I don't know the X's of O's into this. I watched where they beat Purdue this year, and that was it. And that's kind of where I've been with Wisconsin basketball, I'm just going to say personally, because it's been the same song and dance for the last 7 years. We're going in, hey, they got one or two really good players. They're fun to watch. If those guys light it up, you got a chance to make a run in the tournament. And at best, you're a second-round exit. That's exactly what it's been. And it doesn't matter because they haven't made the changes defensively. They haven't added, which I know how hard it is to add depth, but you need depth, especially inside, if you're going to be able to defend those shots down the lane. And they haven't been. There were a lot of easy buckets that were taken yesterday. I see a little bit of a lack of hustle, too, especially in that game where guys did not know where to be positionally. That falls on coaching as well. So I don't know what's going to happen. If you are looking to go make a Final Four run, if you're looking to win a national championship, I don't think Greg Gard's it. But if you like having a competitive team that makes you at least tune in to watch the game to think that you have a chance, even though you might actually not, then Greg Gard's your guy. And you can sign up for that if you want.
Couldn't have said it better.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I was not a great Badger fan in either football or basketball this year. It's been very difficult for me personally to work up that want to even go watch these teams where you're in no man's land right now. And they've been in no man's land where, I mean, even football, they took down a couple of top 25 teams this year. Like they showed that, hey, there's a glimpse that's going to make you want to come watch, maybe, possibly, where you think that you have a chance. And then with this basketball team, Michigan was number 1 when they beat them in the Big House? Like, they were a giant killer this year. But then they can't take care of the 12 seed. And I knew that's exactly what it was. And that's what I said to you as well, where you have these super high-end talent guys where, yes, I understand that the chance is there to go and make a little bit of a run, but you can't do that as inconsistent as you have been all year. You've had these same problems where when you let yourself get into a shootout, it's going to be difficult to win those games when you have super high-end shooters on the other end, because that's just not how the team is built. And they fell into it again. It was a bit of a trap for them. And you can say, yes, High Point was a good team. I think they were too. But you're going to run into good teams in the NCAA tournament. That's exactly what it is. You don't get there by being a flop. That's the bottom line. You're going to have to play in an important moment, and you're going to have a little bit of the clutch gene when it comes to it. And none of these Greg Gard teams that I have watched in the last 7 years have shown any glimpse of a clutch gene when it has mattered most, and that's in March. So that's my little Badger basketball rant. Anything to leave us with on that, Sam?
Nothing more to say about Badger basketball. Looking forward to seeing news that Greg Gard's fired soon. All
right. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably smile if I see the headline. I do want to talk a little bit at World Baseball Classic. Team USA.
It was a good one.
It was good. It was fun. Question I have: who are you rooting for in the final? Because I I had a bit of conflicting energy when I was watching that game between Venezuela and Team USA.
That's funny that you say that. I was in the same exact boat. I mean, how can you not be rooting for the Venezuela team? They wanted it more. Dude was crying before he threw the last pitch of the game. I mean, Eugenio Suarez interview afterwards, just straight up looking up, praising Jesus right
Just
away.
praying.
And the US was asleep. They thought that they would just roll out of bed and win it, and talent would win it, and Bryce Harper's talent sure tried. That home run in the eighth got me feeling all sorts of American. I was watching. I was like, oh, Aaron Judge is on deck. If he can get a shot, coupled with a runner or two on, he's going to do it. And then I thought to myself, maybe Bryce Harper's the guy. Maybe this is Bryce Harper's moment to actually do this. He was the chosen one years ago, and then he launched it, and I felt great. We didn't let not we, the A's didn't let Mason Miller throw in the last inning. They said he's shut down. The Venezuelan team, remind me who the closer for them, Palencia?
Palencia. He plays for the Cubs, yeah.
He had a situation. They said if it's the ninth inning and a save situation, he can play. Mason Miller was just shut down. I think that's a difference of attitudes. Now, maybe that comes Cubs versus A's, but it speaks to the passion that these guys are playing with. You know what? If he needs his moment in this World Baseball Classic, give it to him. Rather than the American way, which is, oh, we paid him a lot of dollars, so we want to protect him. And I think Mason Miller is like past 54 batters he's seen is 54 up and 54 down. It sure would have been nice to have that in the ninth inning. But absolutely awesome. Awesome show. World Baseball Classic. Started in 2006. I think they hit it out of the park with this. I think this is up there with, hard to say up there with World Cup because that's, just a completely different animal. But this is a worldwide unifying, and it's cool to see the American pastime, which used to be a very buttoned up, the Yankee way, no facial hair, a composed gentleman's game, if you will. There was a lot of people were frustrated. Maybe the guy, but somebody started bat flipping for the first time, and it was all of a sudden a hot take when people were pimping home runs. And now we get to see how other countries actually bring life to baseball. And I think as fans, we need more of that. We need this juice, this passion, the crowd singing, the crowd chanting. Listen to Pat McAfee. He said every time there was two strikes, the whole crowd was going, ponche, 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 waiting for a punch out. That's freaking electric, Cody. We need more of that in baseball.
Yeah, no, it was a blast. You had guys praying on the field, like after a play or a hit. Like it was guys emoting and celebrating after making even a routine play when it got towards the ends of those games. I mean, the type of energy that you saw there rivaled what you see. Probably, I think it overtakes what you see in the World Series with fans. Like you had the entire country of Venezuela. I think they said that kids got out of school early across the whole country to go watch that game. Like that's... And you watch that game and the way that the U.S. I mean, there are a lot of news around the U.S. and Mark DeRosa. I think we talked about it on the last podcast where they biffed it and it was embarrassing. Well, they found their way in the finals anyway. That game against the DR, it was fun. It was pretty boring. You can say what you want about the Mason Miller thing, but I'm not even going to blame it necessarily on the pitching. Like Garrett Whitlock was nails up until the last two hitters that he faced, and that's what it was. Like even the game before that against the DR, Whitlock looked so good in the eighth inning. I thought they might have brought him out in the ninth instead of Mason Miller anyway. So I can't blame the pitching necessarily because they had 3 hits the whole game. You texted me and asked
Shout out Bryce Turango.
Which 2 guys are going to get hits today, and I picked I picked 2 out of the. I don't know how many guys got to hold the bat, 11, and only 3 of them got hits. One of them was Bryce Turang, and then you had a Bryce Harper. Hey, good day to be a Bryce, I guess. And the Bryce Harper 2-run home run, and there was one other hit there too, but they didn't hit. And it was the whole tournament. They didn't have a single game where they looked like the Team USA that we were promised, because up and down that lineup, you had just superstars. So watching that finals for me, knowing how much it meant for the country of Venezuela and how much it looked like Team USA just didn't care. I mean, Aaron Judge, Aaron Judge watched strike three multiple times in that game, and I'm not a Yankee fan. I understand Aaron Judge is statistically one of the best right-handed hitters we've ever seen, but when I watch Aaron Judge, it's not in your regular season Tuesday evening game. I watch him when it's the playoffs, it's the World Series, or it's the World Baseball Classic. And I haven't seen it from him. I think he's someone who crumbles under it, and I think a lot of the guys did in the tournament. And watching the passion that Venezuela played for and how much it meant for all of those guys, that country, the entire coaching staff, I knew, like, if you're watching a movie and you're watching that game, you knew Team USA was the bad guys. Like you knew it, you felt it, and the way that it went, I felt that positive emotion, like almost cheering for Team Venezuela when they got that final out. Like, it's like, that was awesome. Like, I wanted to post something if I still had social media. I wanted to say that was really cool watching Team USA get taken down by Team Venezuela. So I mean, as much of a patriot as I can claim to be, that was a very fun moment for me watching. And Churio and Contreras on that team as well. Angel Zerpa, that's a guy to watch for Milwaukee. Holy cow, they're going to burn his arm out so quickly. He is a monster. He's going to take over all those Jared Koenig innings.
I'm here for that.
Speaking about the Brewers, we'll do just a little bit of news here before we get into the cheese graters. They had a couple options to the minors today. Logan Henderson won't be in the rotation to start the year. He'll be in AAA. Blake Perkins, the biggest surprise probably, he's going to be in the minors, which means Brandon Lockridge is going to be your backup center fielder at the big league club, and Tyler Black, as expected. You got your first base situation handled. Jake Bowers and Andrew Vaughn, they'll take care of it. Quinn Priester has thoracic outlet syndrome in his right shoulder. He's hoping for a mid-April return. He'll start on the IL. Roster's kind of shaping up. I'm excited for it. That'll bring me my first cheese grater. What is your Brewers sleeper for this year? Give me a player or whatever it may be. You got a sleeper pick.
It's not a sleeper to you and I, but I think a lot more people are going to know about Garrett Mitchell 12 months from now than they do right now. I think he gets a lot of run, and I think he's been chomping at the bit for quite some time to get his shot. So I hope Garrett Mitchell shows up this year.
I hope so too.
Whoever they give the innings to, I'm not out on Brandon Lockridge at all. If he's going to be hitting 450 feet bombs, the third outfielder, whoever it may be, is going to have a lot of chances with this Brewers team to shine.
Yep. Yeah, 4 home runs in 12 games for Lockridge. He hit 314 in the spring.
And you know what, Cody? On the record, I'm not out on Joey Ortiz yet either. What about you?
I was expecting that answer more than any other. I was kind of trying to feed that to you, but yeah, hope so. For both of those players, I would really, really love to see it. That would really push this team over the top.
Fire the next one. I don't have any graders for you.
Okay, sounds good. What's your favorite NCAA March Madness moment of all time?
I was really locked in watching the North Carolina Villanova game. And that was just an absolutely electric ending. The double pump from North Carolina from the shoulder to tie it up. And then Chris Jenkins coming down the court with the Archidiakono toss behind and hit it from the wing as the buzzer expires. Coach is emotionless. Streams are flying. I think the Villanova buzzer beater, just because I was so locked in to that. Badgers beating Kentucky. Mm-hmm. So cool. I was at a bar, a little less locked into the game, was definitely celebrating that game. But yeah. I think seeing the Villanova, I mean, that's what March is all about.
That's awesome. Were you 21 at that time, Sam?
Verdict is out, Cody. Verdict is out.
Verdict is out. Yeah, mine's probably that Kentucky win. And then also I think it was that same year, actually, which, yeah, I'm pretty sure. But Paul Jesperson's half-court buzzer beater to send UNI to the Sweet 16. Paul Jesperson and I are from the same hometown,
Sweet.
which I remember watching him in high school, taking Merrill all the way to the state finals was pretty great, and then watching him send UNI, of all teams, to go to the Sweet 16 with a half-court buzzer beater. He banked it, so Charles Barkley had a big problem with that, said it takes no skill at all to do that, and I thought that was quite interesting as well. But
that's funny. Got to shout out Jimmer. I was all over the Jimmer craze. Big fan of Jimmer. Big fan of Florida Gulf Coast. I think they won a couple games a few years ago. What was their nickname? I don't know. And then Bronson Koenig had a game-winning buzzer beater to beat Xavier. Actually saw Bronson at a restaurant here in La Crosse, and he was having dinner. I was managing the restaurant at the time and didn't want to bother him. He was with his family. He's got La Crosse ties. I patted him on the shoulder as I brought his Pepsi over, said, "Hell of a shot against Xavier. Good to see you." And I hope he gets that most places where he goes in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I actually saw him at the YMCA, and he actually came up to me to ask to use the 60-pound dumbbell that I was using. So I was approached by Bronson Koenig in La Crosse. But yeah, you can spot him around. He's awesome. He lives there. I think he has 2 daughters that he's raising in La Crosse. Just good family man. Someone who was a blast to watch at Wisconsin, and kind of got his shot with the Bucks. I remember he had a little letter that he wrote to him saying that he was the best 3-point shooter in the country.
Yeah,
which
he did.
I mean, hey, he shot his shot, and that's what shooters do. They shoot. He certainly did that. And then one last one. This one's kind of fun, but you can name a place, something, whatever it might be. But what is one thing you have on your sports bucket list to this point? Like something to see, something to do. Like, is there just something that's on there for you, Sam?
A World Cup game would be sweet.
Yeah,
it really would. And maybe that's just fresh on my mind. It's coming up. It is in America, and I looked at some tickets, and I think the tickets in Kansas City are starting at like $450 to just be there. But the 06 World Cup was one of my first sports memories, watching Zinedine Zidane headbutt a guy in the game going to PKs. And I just think the atmosphere is so cool at a World Cup game. What about you?
Canton. Want to see the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Cool. Yeah, the history everywhere there.
Yeah, I geek out when I even go into Lambeau, which if you guys are looking for just some cheap sports history fun, if you haven't done like a Lambeau tour, please go do it. Like, it's so inexpensive. It is so cool. Like, even just to walk in the building, like, is a different experience. And I tell that now that I work for a nationwide company. Anyone I run into that's a sports fan, like, yeah, I've been thinking of going to Lambeau. I'm the guy to say, no, actually, you need to. Like, if you enjoy the NFL with any capacity, you need to go to Lambeau Field. It is that cool. And now, me living just a hop, skip, and a jump away, I'm going to go a couple times this year, hopefully.
I got one more note before we go, Cody, on our time's running up. I got a name, R.I.P. Chuck. Chuck Norris passed away this morning.
Yes.
I did want to share a brief story. A venomous cobra once bit Chuck Norris in the leg, and after 5 hours of excruciating pain, the cobra passed away.
Rest in peace, Chuck Norris, the man that I don't believe the news. I don't think he's dead.
That's valid.
and that'll play into all the memes. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you when we see you. I'm Cody, that's Sam. This is another edition of A Little Bit of Cheese, your bite-sized Wisconsin sports podcast.